The word for you today. It's Monday, June the 19th, and we're talking about wisdom. To pray for wisdom. 2 Chronicles chapter 1 verse 10 says, "Give me wisdom and knowledge that I may lead this people, for who is able to govern this great people of yours?" Okay, what's happening in this scripture? David, the king of Israel, has died. Solomon, his son, is now the new king of Israel. God appeared to Solomon and told him to ask for whatever he wanted. If God gave you a blank check and told you to write the amount in, what would you write in? Write anything in you want. What would you want? And that's what God is doing here with Solomon. He says, ask for anything that you wish. And so Solomon, what did he ask for? He says, give me wisdom and knowledge. Why? So that I may lead this people, for who is able to govern this great people of yours. What Solomon is saying is, I can't do this on my own. I need help. And God, I need wisdom from you. Solomon didn't ask for money, for fame, but for wisdom, and to do well what God has given him to do. So God granted him that wisdom, and actually gave him a whole lot more. In James chapter 3, verse 17, it gives us the 7 pillars of wisdom. If you turn to James 3:17, you'll see these 7 pillars of wisdom. It says the first one is purity. It's making holiness a top priority in our lives. There's a scripture passage in Psalms that says, "Create in me a pure heart, O Lord, and renew a right spirit within me." We want to have a pure heart. And when that's a desire, it's more likely to happen. So the first pillar of wisdom is a purity. Have a pure life. Doesn't mean we're perfect. Second one is peace-loving. Getting along well with others. You know, we can only do our part, but we do have a responsibility to do our part. Peace-loving. Always looking for that opportunity to make peace rather than to argue a point, even if you're right. The third pillar is being considerate, being respectful and considerate in what we say and also what we do. Considerate. If what I'm going to do is going to bother somebody else, then I back off out of consideration for them. If what I'm going to do makes somebody else's job harder, okay, let's think about this. Being considerate and helping other people. The fourth thing is being submissive, being humble and submissive. Means being willing to take second place and allow somebody else to sit closer. Allow somebody else to have something better than yourself. Being full of mercy. Being kind and compassionate. Merciful means being kind and compassionate. It means you recognize somebody and you recognize they have maybe some faults or maybe they have some disabilities and you want to help them to receive more than what they could have. Being impartial. Being fair and just. Impartial means being fair and just. I think all of us are prejudiced. We are. I say, no, I'm not prejudiced. But when it comes right down to it, we pick something over something else because of a prejudice. And the 7th pillar is being sincere, caring about the truth and living with integrity, meaning that I'm the same way when I'm by myself as I am when I'm around people who can see me. So these 7 pillars of wisdom, Solomon asked God for wisdom, and God gave it to him. And it's a purity, having a pure life. Now, did Solomon have a pure life? Not anywhere near. But these are the. If you want wisdom, these things help get us wisdom. A pure life, peace-loving. Don't go around looking to argue. Look for ways to get along. Being considerate. Looking how to help other people. Solomon did a lot of that. Being submissive. You don't have to win every time. You don't have to be the boss. Full of mercy. Recognize when other people are having a hard time and help them. Impartial. Be fair and just. And then sincere. Do things because you genuinely care. Not just because you're supposed to. You know, wisdom is taking some knowledge and applying it to your situation. There was a college class, and it was a survey of New Testament. Students loved the class for a couple reasons. One, there was no reading, no homework, no assignments, no nothing. Just one test at the end of the year. And everybody knew what the question was going to be. The question was, describe the missionary journeys of Paul. So they could spend the whole semester studying about the missionary journeys of Paul, because they knew for over 20 years that was the one single question that the professor had given each time. And so they came for the test. They come in, they file, they sit down, and imagine their shock. Imagine their shock when the question is not describe the missionary journeys of Paul. Instead, they were asked, critique the Sermon on the Mount that was preached by Jesus. Well, immediately they went into shock because they hadn't done any work on that at all. They had no reason to do that. And so one by one, they got up and they put their blank essay sheets on the teacher's desk, except for one student. His name was Meathead. Meathead played on the football team. He needed to make a good score on this to be eligible to play on the football team. And Meathead had a tutor that helped him study the missionary journeys of Paul. He came into this ready to go. He came in ready and prepared, and boom, he got thrown a curve just like all the others. And this is where wisdom comes in. Meathead sat there, and while all the others brought their papers up and put them on the professor's desk, Meathead was writing, furiously writing and writing and writing and writing. And finally it came to the end, and he took his paper up and set it down. And in the end, he made an A+. And they're all going, how did you do that? Meathead, how did you do that? And he said, what did you write about it? And he said, well, read it. And on the front page was this opening sentence. Who am I to criticize the Sermon on the Mount? Instead, let me tell you about the missionary journeys of Paul. And he went on to tell about the missionary journeys of Paul. He told what he knew, and that was wisdom, taking some knowledge here. Okay, I know nothing about this, so I can't say anything about it, but I can tell you what I do know. And he went ahead and did that, and he made an A+, where all the other students failed that test. Wisdom is taking those things that we know and applying them in our lives. Solomon was wise enough to ask God for that. How about you and me? How much wisdom do you have? I would imagine you have more wisdom than you think. Stop and think. Stop and think, and put your knowledge to use for that situation. And ask God to give you the wisdom that He has given you. Have a good day.